Now at 11, bloodied and bruised, a father catching a teen he says was in the act of sexually assaulting his son.
A woman is free tonight after spending part of the weekend in jail for an unusual and painful crime. She's accused of slicing the penis of an 18-year-old man with a box cutter.
One of the greatest motivators of human actions is revenge. A primal needs to get one's kickback, a primal human emotion that often leads to acts of desperation and violence.
Revenge is a dish best served cold, and sometimes it's caught on camera.
Cameras have become the secret watchers on the wall in our society, capturing everything from mundane moments to extraordinary events. Sometimes they have also served as grim witnesses to acts of violent retribution. Here are some of the most disturbing revenge moments ever recorded.
In this video, we're diving deep into some of the most shocking acts of revenge ever recorded. These stories will leave you questioning the lengths people will go to when seeking retribution, from heartfelt acts of a grieving mother to the brutal realities of gang violence. Prepare yourself for a roller coaster of emotions as we explore these unbelievable moments. Join us as we uncover the stories behind these shocking acts of revenge and what drove these individuals to their breaking points. Our first story is one that reverberated throughout Germany and beyond. It's the tale of Marianne Bachmeier, a mother whose life was shattered by a brutal crime. In 1980, her 7-year-old daughter, Anna, was abducted, sexually assaulted, and murdered by Klaus Grabowski, a man with a long history of criminal behavior.
Anna Bachmeier, just 7 years old, was an energetic girl who often helped out at her father's pub in Lübeck, Germany, and she was dearly cherished by her mother, Marianne.
Anna was described as a bright and lively child. Her disappearance sent shockwaves through her small community, leading to frantic searches and an outpouring of support from neighbors and friends.
But that perfect life came crashing down on May 5th, 1980, when Anna mysteriously disappeared. The next day, police confirmed that Klaus Grabowski, a known sex offender with a history of abusing young girls, had admitted to harming Anna. Klaus claimed 7-year-old Anna had seduced him and, following his refusal, tried to extort him, saying she would report him to her mother if he didn't pay her.
Tragically, her life was cut short by an individual who had repeatedly shown a disregard for the law and the safety of others. This heinous crime left Marianne devastated and consumed with grief. After Anna's body was discovered, Marianne felt an overwhelming sense of loss and anger. She could hardly bear the thought of the trial, where she would have to face the man responsible for her daughter's death. Many mothers would seek solace in their grief, but Marianne's emotions began to fester into something much darker.
7 years later, Klaus killed her daughter after assaulting the little girl. On March 6, 1981, Marianne's lifelong grief and fury finally erupted violently.
As the trial began, Marianne was filled with rage. She felt the justice system had failed her, and she couldn't bear to sit in silence as Grabowski told his version of events. The courtroom atmosphere was tense, filled with people who had come to witness justice served. But for Marianne, this was not just about the trial. It was about her daughter's life and the unbearable pain of losing her. On that fateful day, in 1981, Marianne smuggled a gun into the courtroom, hidden in her handbag. As Grabowski sat in the defendant's chair, casually answering questions, Marianne stood up. In a moment of sheer desperation, she pulled out the weapon and shot him in the back multiple times. The courtroom erupted in chaos. People screamed, and the judge called for order. But Marianne remained unrepentant. As she was arrested, she looked straight at the judge and said, "I wanted to kill him. I wanted to shoot him in the face, but I shot him in the back. I hope he's dead." This chilling statement revealed the depth of her anguish and her desire for vengeance. The incident shocked the nation. Some viewed Marianne as a hero, a mother avenging her child's death. Others condemned her actions, arguing that taking the law into her own hands set a dangerous precedent. The case ignited a heated debate about vigilantism and the justice system's role in protecting victims' families. Marianne's trial for manslaughter instead of murder brought its own media frenzy. Her defense argued that her actions were fueled by an emotional breakdown after the trauma of losing her child. Many sympathized with her plight, recognizing the overwhelming grief that could push a person to such extremes. The courtroom was filled with supporters who believed she was simply acting out of love for her daughter, while others remained adamant that no one should take the law into their own hands, no matter the circumstance. Ultimately, Marianne was charged with manslaughter, receiving a 6-year sentence, but serving just 3. Her case continues to raise important questions about justice, grief, and the lengths a person will go to when faced with unbearable loss. public opinion remains divided, and Marianne's story resonates with many who have experienced similar tragedies. Her actions serve as a reminder of how grief can transform into vengeance and how the desire for justice can lead to shocking consequences. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about the justice system and the emotional scars that linger long after a loved one is gone.
A woman is free tonight after spending part of the weekend in jail for an unusual and painful crime. She's accused of slicing the penis of an 18-year-old man with a box cutter.
Now we look at a shocking case involving Bonita Lynn Vela. This story is about a mother who took revenge in a very violent way. One Saturday morning, the police got a call about a man in a trailer on East Jefferson Street. He said he was being held captive by Bonita, his girlfriend's mother. The man claimed that Bonita believed he had harmed her 2-year-old son. This belief made her very angry and scared.
This stems from 35-year-old Bonita Vela's allegations that her daughter's 18-year-old boyfriend had molested Vela's young son. That's a charge that he denies to police, who tonight are trying to sort out the details of this bloody attack.
In a fit of rage, Bonita confronted him with a box cutter. She demanded that he allow her to cut off his genitals. She thought this was a way to punish him for what she believed he had done. This situation quickly became very dangerous. The man felt trapped. He reported that Bonita wouldn't let him leave unless he did what she wanted. When the police arrived, they found him looking very scared. He told them what had happened, and they realized the seriousness of the situation. Police said the man had bloodstains and a cut on his penis. He said Vela told him that she wanted to scar him so that he would have to look at it every time that he had sex in the future. Police body camera footage captured the chaos. They arrested Bonita right away. She showed little remorse. In her mind, she was trying to protect her son, but her actions raised many questions. Was this revenge justified? Did her anger lead her to a dangerous place?
This is 35-year-old Bonita Vela, and the crime she's accused of sends primal fear into all males.
An individual cut a young man's in a battery/criminal confinement case that we're working.
Bonita faced serious charges for her actions. She was charged with aggravated assault and unlawful restraint. This incident sparked a lot of discussions. Many people felt sorry for Bonita as a mother. They understood why she was so upset, but others warned that taking revenge like this can lead to more pain. Bonita's case shows us how powerful a mother's love can be, but it also highlights how fear and anger can lead to bad decisions. Her story reminds us that seeking revenge can create a cycle of violence. In the end, everyone suffers: families, friends, and the community.
Now at 11, bloodied and bruised, a father catching a teen he says was in the act of sexually assaulting his son.
Next, we turn to the harrowing story of Jason Browning. This father found himself in a nightmare scenario when he caught a man allegedly assaulting his 11-year-old son. The moment he walked into that room would change his life forever.
An angry father in Daytona Beach, Florida made a frantic call to 911. He reported that he had caught someone molesting his son and took matters into his own hands by beating that molester until he was knocked out, ready for the police to apprehend.
Jason Browning, a 35-year-old father from Daytona Beach, had always trusted his family and friends. But that trust was shattered one fateful day when he returned home and discovered something unimaginable. He walked into his home to find Raymond Frolander, an 18-year-old family friend, in a compromising situation with his son. The child had told investigators he was playing video games with friends, but after the friends left, Frolander pulled the boy's pants down and started abusing him. Jason described seeing Frolander naked with his son, and in that instant, a rage took over him. He didn't think about the consequences. All he could feel was the protective instinct of a father. In a fit of anger, he attacked Frolander, beating him mercilessly. Jason later recounted how, in the heat of the moment, he wanted to kill Frolander. After inflicting serious injuries on him, Jason went to grab a knife, believing he would finish what he started. But in that moment, his son stepped in front of him and pleaded, "Dad, don't." Jason said, "My son is the one who stepped in front of me and stopped me," Browning said. "My son saved his attacker's life, so who's really the hero in this situation?" His son's brave plea stopped him from committing an act that would have changed their lives forever. Covered in bruises, Frolander pleaded not guilty to sexual battery on a child after he admitted to molesting the boy for years.
Karen Rodriguez was driving home one night when armed cartel members forced their way into her truck and kidnapped her. With little help from the authorities, Karen's mom made it her mission to avenge her. This is the story of Miriam Rodriguez.
Now we turn to a more tragic yet profound story, the case of Miriam Rodriguez Martinez. Miriam was a devoted mother who lost her daughter, a victim of kidnapping and murder. The pain she endured transformed her into a woman determined to seek justice for her child, leading her down a path that many would find unimaginable.
The Rodriguez family lived in the city of San Fernando in Mexico. San Fernando is a smaller city of roughly 60,000 people.
Miriam's daughter, Karen, was abducted by a criminal gang known for their ruthlessness. After a long search, her worst fears were confirmed when she received the heartbreaking news that her daughter had been murdered. The police investigation seemed to stall, leaving Miriam feeling helpless and frustrated.
Karen was driving her pickup truck home when two trucks pulled up on either side of her. Suddenly, armed men were forcing their way into her truck. They took control and drove to Miriam's house, where Karen stayed while Miriam was gone. At the house, they bound and gagged Karen and waited for someone to come home. But the person who came was not who they expected. A family friend was stopping by to work on one of the family's cars. The armed men panicked. They bound and gagged the family friend as well, and then led both him and Karen back to their trucks and left. After learning what happened, the Rodriguezes were desperate to get their daughter back. As was expected, the cartel demanded a ransom. They instructed the Rodriguezes to leave the money near a health clinic and then wait in a cemetery nearby for Karen to be released.
Instead of resigning herself to despair, Miriam channeled her grief into action. She began her own investigation, desperate to find out what happened to Karen and to bring her killers to justice. She would not allow her daughter's memory to fade into silence. Miriam's search was relentless, and she quickly became known for her tenacity. Miriam infiltrated the very communities where she believed the criminals operated. She spoke to informants, gathered evidence, and did whatever it took to uncover the truth. Her determination was fierce, driven by a mother's love and a desire for revenge against those who had caused her immeasurable pain.
Miriam slowly began to realize that if she wanted justice for her daughter, she may have to seek it out herself. And so, Miriam decided to take matters into her own hands. Miriam made a vow to track down Karen's kidnappers no matter what. She knew this meant going against the cartel, which was dangerous and could potentially cost her her life. But for Miriam, it was worth it.
Eventually, her persistence paid off. She identified several members of the gang involved in her daughter's kidnapping and murder. But instead of handing this information over to the authorities, Miriam decided to confront them directly. She was fueled by a combination of grief, rage, and an unyielding desire for justice.
Miriam chased after the man, managing to pin him down. She held him at gunpoint until the police came and arrested him. Over the course of 3 years, Miriam single-handedly tracked down almost all 10 living cartel members involved in Karen's kidnapping and murder.
The confrontation was nothing short of shocking. Armed with her own weapon, Miriam tracked down the gang members responsible for her daughter's death. In a tense standoff, she expressed her pain and fury, demanding they answer for their actions. The chilling nature of her revenge was caught on camera, highlighting the raw emotions of a mother pushed to her limits. The footage revealed a woman transformed by grief, determined to make those who wronged her pay for their actions. In a moment that could only be described as a culmination of sorrow and rage, Miriam's act of revenge resonated with many. It sparked discussions about justice and the lengths a parent will go to protect their child's memory. The fallout from Miriam's actions was significant. Law enforcement arrested her, but public sentiment was divided. Many viewed her as a vigilante hero, someone who took a stand when the system failed her. Others condemned her for resorting to violence, arguing that it only perpetuated a cycle of crime. Miriam was charged with various offenses related to her confrontation. Her case drew widespread media attention, and as she awaited trial, she became a symbol of a mother's love and the extremes one might go to for vengeance. Now, we shift gears to the harsh realities of gang life and the shocking acts of revenge that often follow. In this world, loyalty is paramount, and betrayal is met with swift and brutal retribution. These gang moments, caught on camera, expose the violent nature of these rivalries and the lengths individuals will go to defend their honor. The Mexican police have captured a man suspected of being a drug lord, Carlos Beltran Leyva, just weeks after his even more powerful brother was killed in a shootout with troops' back-to-back victories in President Felipe Calderón's drug war. Let's dive into the tragic story of Carlos. After his brother is brutally murdered in a gang-related incident, Carlos is overwhelmed with grief and a burning desire for vengeance. He knows that he can't let this go unanswered. The blood of his brother demands retribution. Carlos quickly gathers his trusted gang members. They meet in a dimly lit room, maps spread across the table, plotting their next move. The target? The rival gang responsible for his brother's death. They plan a surprise raid on the rival gang's stronghold. Under the cover of darkness, Carlos and his crew arm themselves and set out on their mission, adrenaline pumping through their veins. As they approach the hideout, tension fills the air. They storm the building, gunfire echoing through the night. Chaos erupts as Carlos's men engage in a fierce gun battle, taking out several members of the rival gang. After a violent clash, they manage to capture the gang's leader, a man notorious for his ruthlessness. But Carlos wants more than just a captured enemy. He seeks answers. In a secluded location, Carlos confronts the gang leader. He begins to torture him, driven by the need to extract information about the person who killed his brother. With each scream, he feels a twisted sense of power, but it's fleeting. Finally, the leader reveals the killer's identity. Fueled by rage, Carlos and his crew track down the murderer and confront him. In a brutal and violent exchange, Carlos avenges his brother's death. But when it's all over, Carlos is left standing alone in the aftermath of bloodshed. He looks around at the destruction and realizes that nothing has changed. The revenge he sought didn't bring his brother back. Instead, he feels an intense emptiness inside, a haunting reminder that violence only begets more violence. The victory he sought is overshadowed by the void left in his heart, leaving him more lost than ever. Such acts of revenge do not only affect those directly involved. Families are left shattered, communities are left in fear, and the cycle of violence continues. This particular incident serves as a grim reminder of the toll that gang violence takes on society. As we reflect on these shocking acts of revenge, it's crucial to recognize the complexity of human emotions. Each story we've explored today sheds light on the darker sides of our nature, from the heartbreaking tale of a grieving mother to the ruthless realities of gang warfare. These moments highlight the extremes individuals will go to when driven by grief, anger, or betrayal. Revenge may offer a fleeting sense of satisfaction, but it often leads to further pain and suffering. The cycle of violence continues, leaving behind a trail of destruction and heartache. Each story reminds us that the quest for revenge can have dire consequences, affecting not just those directly involved, but entire communities. What do you think? Is revenge ever justified, or does it only lead to more suffering? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today as we explored these shocking acts of revenge caught on camera. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more captivating stories. Until next time, stay safe and remember to choose compassion over vengeance.